Windsor, Elizabeth.
Hi, Nick.
Elizabeth.
I've been waiting. Oh, hello, darling. I've been waiting for 36 minutes.
Stop whining.
Well, why not? Can I speak as long as the lady from Dorset? Because I can't think of where to start in this. I'm going to go backwards and forwards. DBS is the vetting system to make sure you haven't got any hidden crimes, like not safeguarding,
Right, so not an Aston Martin.
No, unfortunately, and there was not a DBS either, as you know. I've got mad. Now, I don't know where to start here.
Start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start.
Now, number one, as far as lefty lawyers are concerned, it may interest your caller or whoever to know that Keir Starmer was a lawyer, and it may still be a barrister in Doughty Chambers.
Yeah.
I've got a silk and two high-level lawyers in my family. Unfortunately, we are medics.
Unfortunately. Unfortunately.
Well, we have 4 children. We thought we'd have 4 doctors around the table, but none of them are.
Right.
Okay, they didn't, and it's a good thing too, because by the time Tony Blair had finished trashing the medical education, and I'm a nurse, senior nurse tutor, the nurse education, and what they did with nursing and medicine, we are so pleased they're not there. Okay.
Right, so, Tony Blair ruined the NHS. Is that your position?
Would you like me to read you from 24 Hours to Save the NHS, written by the first holder of the post that Simon Stevens held, head of NHS England?
Would I like you to, hang on a minute, would I like you to read from it? Well, it depends what it is and how long it lasts. All I know is that the public gave the NHS its highest positivity ratings during the last Labour administration.
I'll tell you why.
Waiting times were at their lowest, and outcomes were just fine. Now, not so much.
Okay, let me explain to you. My husband was a consultant cardiologist from 81 until 2016 when he got attacked by the surgeons for heart bypass grafting, okay?
He got what? Attacked by a surgeon? Is that what you just said?
Listen, I'm an ITU nurse, yeah. No, he had a bypass grafting, so he had to stop working. Unfortunately, he was over 70. They were trying to, Magdi Yakub, one of the best cardiac surgeons.
No, I've got absolutely no idea what you're talking about. I'm still trying to figure out that somebody got attacked by a surgeon.
No, that's all. That's just the way we used to laugh and joke before New Labour came in hospitals and theatres. I spent my life at ITU working with doctors and then surgeons and everything. Right, and now we're not allowed to mess around anymore because you might get.
Speaking as a potential patient, I approve of you not being able to muck around in the theatre.
I can absolutely assure you the standard is much lower now. But anyway,
yes, they are. Yeah, at least we can agree. At least we can agree on that. They're much lower now.
Yes, they're lower now because you're not looked after just by nurses and trained nurses. Nurse aides, which we used to train before.
Never mind about all that. Are you saying hang on a minute, the NHS is worse now because of the Labour Party?
Yeah, because of the changes.
So for the 13 years that we've just been through, it's all the fault of the Labour Party who haven't been in power for 13 years.
No, but I need to say, I have a book in front of me called 24 Hours to Save the NHS.
Yeah, never mind about that. Never mind about that. Are you telling me that the state of the NHS is because, in 2023, is because of the Labour Party?
I'll explain. If you listen, I'll explain to you why. Because it was very subtle. But Nigel Cripps was the guy set in there by Alan Milburn to bring in the changes they wanted to get. Because to win 2001 election, they had to deal with...
So the Conservative Party, having been in power for 13 years, have been unable to effect a change in the NHS?
Because they have to reverse all the contracts. It was the first thing Labour did, was they changed all the doctors' contracts. So to change all the contracts... So GPs always used to... I don't know how old you are. GPs used to always... you see the same GP, he'd be on to call it nice, and you just carry on now. Labour came in
Elizabeth,
and they took...
this is really dragging the show right down. I mean, talk about a buzzkill.
Why haven't we got out of our care anymore from the GPs? That
it's Labour's fault after 13 years of a Tory government is just such an asinine argument, Elizabeth. I'm amazed that somebody of your obvious intelligence would make it out loud.
No, what I'm saying is we lived through this, okay? So any doctor that didn't comply, go and look up.
All right. Everything that is wrong with the country is because of the Labour Party that hasn't been in power for 13 years. Let's just agree on that, because, I mean, as daft as it may sound, you've convinced me. What else have you got?
Good. Well done. Look up Tony Blair's...
No, I'm not going to do anything of the sort. What else? This is not what you said you were going to call about. I put you on because you said you were going to call about something else, instead of giving me some preposterous lesson about how the state of the nation is the fault of a party that hasn't been in power for 13 years. You've got to be kidding me, Elizabeth.
Well, if I could see you later. No, you need to...
If you could see me now...
Darling, 1999 speech to the Labour Party...
Are you still going on about that? This is not what you said you were going to talk about.
No, but... he said, I'm going to destroy the Western conservatism, starting with the British doctors.
Okay, all right. Okay, lovely talking to you, Elizabeth. Whatever the hell that was, I've got no idea. Thanks a lot, Jeremy Corbyn. Boo! You see what you've done? God. See, this is this mantle of victimhood. I mean, she seemed bright enough. I'm surprised. Everything is somebody else's fault. Doesn't matter how long they've been in power. It doesn't matter what kind of majority they have. You'd think that with an 80-seat majority, and for instance, on the subject of Brexit, that with three prime ministers in a row who want Brexit to happen as their number one priority, and they're still not able to do it. What's holding them back? The Labour Party? Are you kidding me? It's this victimhood mentality, and this is what this woke argument is all about. And the immigrant argument is, we want to help you, but the European Union won't let us. The European Court of Human Rights won't let us. Constant whining victimhood. That's what they're going to be fighting the next election on. And it works. People are casting around, why is my life not like those people that I follow on Instagram? Why haven't I got a boat? And the reason is, luck? No, can't blame luck, because what can you do about luck? Can't punch luck in the face. So, is it the Conservative Party? No, of course not. They're trying. It's these lefty lawyers that are preventing them from helping you. Okay, well, who else is it then? An easily identifiable minority. There you go. Bingo. And that's what we're going to get for like another year. And there's all sorts of iterations of that. Well, we've just heard one. Everything is the fault of the party that hasn't been in power for 13 years. And, the Conservative Party's hands have been tied. They've been completely powerless, unable to act on any given issue, because the Labour Party were so sneaky as to completely tie them up. Such that they couldn't do their best. We got a year of this. God, it's excruciating, ain't it? Constant whining victimhood. If I were them, I'd actually do something positive rather than appealing to people's sense of injustice, because I would think that wouldn't actually play for very long. Like, people would get a bit wise to it. But I guess you only have to bring a certain percentage of the population along with you. And like Donald Trump is fond of saying,
I love the poorly educated.
That's what they're aiming at. Edgware, Simon.
Nick, I think you're missing the point. Believe me, I'm no fan of Gary Lineker or the BBC or this loathsome Tory government. I think you remember I was on your show last week.
I don't remember.
This asylum. Well, you should. Anyway, and I'm sick and tired of hearing Rwanda as a safe third country. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard with brutal dictatorship.
The government would agree with you about that. having said as much out loud about Rwanda. They have.
Well, indeed. They've only given them 15 million quid. But we discussed that. But the reason I called is, we've already seen our Prime Minister making an absolute idiot of himself, Macron rubbing his hands, that's £500 million gone out the window. But anyway, the point I want to make about the Gary Lineker comments, yes, you can. There's nothing wrong in having your comments about a policy, but what you have to understand is, and what your callers have to understand is that when you keep evoking and making comparisons of 1930s Nazi Germany, you've got to think about what that really meant. And look, I'm not a fan of Braverman or any of them. I mean, her comments about invasion this, invasion that. I mean,
right. Well, that's precisely what he was referring to.
Yeah, no. What he referred to, what he did is he made the comment, this is beginning to look like 1930s Germany, along those lines.
I don't think he said that. I think in the language of, I think that was the phrase that he used.
Okay, but the fact of the matter is...
That's factual.
Yeah, okay, but what I'm saying is the comments are insensitive and they're ignorant because it is not 1930 Germany, whatever you think.
Yeah, we know that, and he knows that, and you know that.
But
he wasn't saying... Yeah, of course he does. He wasn't saying this is 1930s Germany. He said that you were using the language of, which is true.
Well, no. Yes, but it doesn't matter. You're implying a situation...
No, he wasn't implying anything of the sort. He was very specific, Simon.
No, Nick, the comments he made implies that you're moving into a Nazi... It does.
No, they did not. They implied nothing of the sort. No, of course it does not. He was very specific. I'm sorry, Simon, you're wrong. He was very specific. He wasn't implying anything. He wasn't saying the government are Nazis. He specifically said that they were using the language of...
I have...
What is that?
I think it's nearly 2,000...
I just picked my phone up and it started speaking to me. Stop speaking. Sorry about that. I had it on mute. Why doesn't it pay attention to me? My smartphone is an idiot. You believe that, Simon? I got interrupted by my own tech.
Well, look, I'm just trying to make the point that while you can make the comment and criticise the... And I do. I'm no fan of this Tory government, not at all. I'm no fan of the BBC. I'd cancel the licence fee tomorrow if I could.
You can.
But when you start bringing in... making comments about 90, what it led to, the Holocaust, etc.
Yeah, that's not what he said. That's not what he said.
I didn't say... No, you're missing the point, Nick, again. Holocaust survivors have said the same. Holocaust education...
But some have, and some haven't.
Well, yeah, but they have. It has. And it's making that... It's implying that...
A Holocaust survivor stood up and tried to get Suella Braverman to tone down her language, and Suella Braverman refused to do that, her face.
I agree. Her language is appalling. This government is appalling.
Then what issue do you have then of somebody saying that it's appalling?
The issue I have is the implication of trying to draw a comparison.
Not an implication. He was specific about what he said. It wasn't, Simon. If that's how you read it, then that's on you. Read his words. I am not going to sit here and have a shouting match about Gary Lineker and 1930s Germany. What he said was factually accurate. It just was. Invasion is the word that was used. 100 million people are going to come here. It's an invasion. Copenhagen. Hello, Guy.
Nick?
Yes, sir.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
I'm at home and I was thinking about you because you got me through quite a long bad times and bollocks like that. Sorry. In that, I love listening to you. I'm at home now, listening to I'm a Gummer. And
that sounds about right. Yeah, that's what I would have predicted. I'm a Gummer, yes.
Yeah. Well, the cats, Princess Matilda and Lord Nelson's hidden.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, well, as soon as there are any developments in that story, Guy, I want you to let me know straight away. I think we need a slightly higher bar that these people have to clear before they get to me. How does that sound to you? My glamorous assistant is nodding furiously. New Forest, hello, Paul. Paul? New Forest, hello, Paul.
Oh, hello.
Paul.
Oh, is it you?
Is it you?
Oh, sorry. Oh,
You just will not believe what I saw earlier on.
What?
Oh.
Tell me.
Oh, God. Oh, no, this is going to sound like I'm some sort of weirdo.
Mm-hmm.
And, I kind of am,
I think that boat sailed. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, thank you very much. Oh, it's nice to hear your voice.
Sailed and sung.
My actual ear.
Yes.
Yeah. Warning.
What did you... What?
No, don't cut me off.
Paul?
I saw something earlier on.
Paul.
Hello, what?
Take a breath.
Yes. Okay.
Now,
okay.
What did you see?
I'm not entirely sure.
Ah, well, I certainly am glad that you called. Well, I mean, come on. He waited a half an hour to tell me that he wasn't sure what he saw. Well, call me back when when you made your mind up. Aberdeen, Stuart.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
You've been a bit critical of, not so much critical, but doing the northern accents, but you don't really do a mocking accent of people down south.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Oh, yes, I do.
No, you don't.
I do. I break into Cockney every now and again.
Oh. But every now and again, how often is that?
Well, how often would you like me to do it, Stuart?
Oh, the past show. How far have you gone into the?
I would say of the time that I have been on the air, approximately 0.8%.
No, I don't see that.
As a Cockney accent, yeah.
Of a Cockney accent, exactly. So you've taken more of the mic of the people of the north.
And
than you have of the people of the south.
Right. So what percentage of the time of my broadcast over, let's say, the last year, has been in a northern accent, approximately, to the nearest percentage?
Well, you're a southerner, so your accent is predominantly of the south.
Yes.
So when you're mocking the people of the north.
Mm-hmm.
Your accent is not representing what you are speaking.
Well, that was very well put, Stuart.
But how often have you mocked people in your local area? How have you done? You obviously have your accent.
Yeah.
So as you say.
Right.
But what accent have you done in your adjacent areas?
In an area adjacent to myself?
So like a Cornish accent?
Well, I'm not anywhere near Cornwall.
A Kenwell?
I'd have to get on a plane to go to Cornwall. It's so far away.
A plane to get to Cornwall?
Yeah, it couldn't be further away.
So, but I'm from Scotland, but I don't have a Scottish accent.
No, you don't.
But I object to your accent.
Right. Which one?
Mocking. Which one?
Yeah.
Well, you've done northern accents, particularly Yorkshire accents.
Yes.
Hey up, that's. You've gone to that more than once in the past hour.
That's pretty offensive what you just said there,
object.
Stuart. That's, you're making people from Yorkshire sound stupid when you say that. Why would you do that?
I'm not from Yorkshire.
Yeah, but you just lapsed into a Yorkshire accent. And it wasn't complimentary, if you don't mind me saying that. It was quite offensive, actually, truth be told.
Oh, come on. So what accents do you do then, which, other than Yorkshire accent and your southern accent, which is your local accent, what other accents do you do on your show?
Let me see. I break into American sometimes. Occasionally I do an Australian. I do the sort of accent.
I don't care about American, Australian.
Well, see, that's really offensive. That's like 400 million people you've just dismissed there out of hand, Stuart. Americans are people too, you know. They have feelings.
Of course, Americans are people too, but the point is of UK people.
Yes. Occasionally, I do a Southern Irish accent and a Northern Irish accent.
A Southern Irish accent? That's not UK.
Okay, a Northern Irish accent.
So, UK accents. What UK accents do you do?
Is this thing on? Are you listening to me, Stuart? You have waxy build-up in your ears. I'm going to send you a Q-tip in the post. I have just listed about half a dozen accents that I do on a regular basis.
A dozen accents? What? International accents?
Half a dozen accents.
Come on, so what other accents do you do in the southeast of the UK?
Well, how many accents are there in the southeast of the UK that are different?
So you've got Kent, you've got Norfolk.
What does somebody from Norfolk? Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute, Stuart. What does somebody from Norfolk sound like?
Have you ever watched Alan Partridge?
No.
Well, there you go. There's an education for you of what an accent map.
You want me to watch Alan Partridge for the benefit of my education?
Well, do you want to see some... What is a Birmingham accent?
Exactly. What's a Birmingham accent?
Have you ever heard of a Birmingham accent?
I've heard of it, but what does it sound like?
But why don't you do that on your show?
Why? Because it hasn't cropped up lately. I'm sure I have done it at one point.
It hasn't cropped up lately?
Yeah, that's right.
What does that mean? So there's nothing been particular in a Yorkshire accent that has cropped up lately, as you say.
That's right.
But you do that accent. You've done that more than once.
Yes.
In the past couple of hours. So why have you not done a Birmingham accent?
Because it hasn't cropped up in the last couple of hours.
But a Yorkshire accent hasn't cropped up.
No, a Yorkshire accent cropped up for a specific reason, but a Birmingham accent didn't. But news from Birmingham has not cropped up on this show so far. But if it does, then I will think about lapsing into a Birmingham accent, if that would make you happy. Would that make you happy?
What was the Yorkshire news?
Well, it wasn't news from Yorkshire. It was the Yorkshireman's sketch from Monty Python that I was just doing a tiny bit of because it fitted in with the story that I was talking about.
So are you going to have a Birmingham sketch?
I'm not aware of a Birmingham sketch. How does it go?
I don't know, but that's pretty basist on...
Basist? I'm being basist? Well, that is true.
Well, come on, you've got to put
put my left leg in, my left leg out, do the okey cokey and you turn around. That was an excellent call, Stuart. I shall cart that up and use it frequently. Hillingdon, Andy.
Yes, Nick.
Andy.
I just thought, in the interest of balance, right, it should be important that you get a bit of West Country accent on there.
Oh.
Because, I've been listening to you for a number of years, right?
Yes.
And I don't think I've ever heard you do any accents whatsoever. So I have no idea what that caller was talking about. However, in the interest of balance, I thought I would represent the different parts of the country. I'm from the West Country. I'm from Dorset.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Hillingdon.
Well, I'm calling from Hillingdon, but I'm originally from Dorset. But as a teacher, I thought I'd tell you, like, if I was in Dorset, I'd be saying, right, listen, I'm on salary scale M6, and I'm getting paid £36,000 a year. Because the government won't bother to negotiate with us on this industrial thing, whatever that's all about.
Right.
But if I was in Scotland, he'd be saying, right...
Well, see, Andy forgot where he was just for a minute there. But it did give me him using builder's language.
Disgusting.
Does give me the opportunity to cut him off straight away because that was the worst Scottish accent I've ever heard in my life, Andy. I mean, you might be able to do Somerset or wherever it was you were going for with that initial one. But I think the Scottish accent is beyond you. Terrible. And I do mean bad. Don't ever do that again. Promise me. Harrow. Jonathan. Harrow.
Yeah. Oh, Nick, that was scary. You had a big confrontation with the guy. I dropped my phone.
You dropped your phone?
Because you and the other guy were having big argument.
Right. And did your phone survive? It sounds excellent. Is it a landline?
Thank you. Are you okay?
Am I okay? Yeah, you okay?
Yeah, no, not really, because this country now, I haven't called you for a few weeks, because each time I call you, people on the Twitter, they say things like, Uncle Jonathan from Harrow is a crazy, he's a... Who let this person in and all of this? It's very rude.
Well, you know how to deal with that, Jonathan.
Not call you.
Well, you could do that. Yes, that would cut it off at the very root. Yes, or you could, or you could not read Twitter. Better.
But then I wouldn't. But this whole Gerald Gary Lineker thingy. So I think it is. I was telling your reception.
Your receptionist. Yes. Hello. How may I help you? Mm-hmm.
I was telling her that I'm shocked. This is so... No, seriously.
Well,
this is so shocking.
That bearded hulk through the glass is a her. I had no idea.
No, but listen to me. This is so shocking.
Mm-hmm.
Because this... Now, Gary Lineker, the point on which I might disagree with you...
Yes.
I don't think he's particularly profound or intelligent.
Well, profound and intelligent are two completely different things.
I don't think he's either.
I think he's fair. I think he's pretty intelligent. Profound, I'm not too sure about, but I don't think profundity is in his remit.
But what is happening now by the BBC, because the BBC for a long time, people are saying that there are lefties. Have you heard this? There's a BBC are lefties. And now people are saying...
and the Conservative donor who is at the top of the BBC and the person that used to be a Conservative councillor who is his second in command, they're just too left-wing for some people. That's right.
No, this is the thing. But now the people are saying that there are right-wings.
Mm.
And with... This is the banning of the Gary Lineker is almost an anti-woke backlash. So if you think about it, I want to say something about your voice actually in a second. But
about my what?
Your voice.
My voice?
Yeah.
Okay then.
But if you think of it like a big chocolate pie, on the one hand you've got the wokies and the hashtag do the wokie cookie, and the other side you've got the anti-wokies.
Jonathan.
And this is all a backlash.
Yeah. Can we talk more about the big chocolate pie?
No, but listen. I was listening to your
chocolate.
What is your problem with Carol and Nick?
Yeah, what's my problem with Nick and Carol?
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah.
And your voice, it sounds a lot more Cockney.
More Cockney?
Because you were educated in private school, but in the radio you sound very posh.
Well, I don't really sound very posh, and part of my education was in a comprehensive in Essex.
Well, I don't say that to make a culture war with you.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've started one already.
But this country now, what is happening is people are... sorry, the neighbour is knocking on the wall. Wait, I shout. The problem is... now, listen to me. The problem is the culture wars means that the economy can't be taken care of. Because I got a little bit of metal in my finger last week.
Right. Not in your... right. I initially thought you were going to say in your brain, but okay, in your finger. You got a little bit of metal in your finger. Yeah. If only there was enough time before the man starts to speak for you to tell exactly how that happened, Jonathan. But sadly, we're never going to know. Isn't that disappointing? Lewisham, Jane.
Hello, Nick.
Hello, Jane.
I'll tell you what. In cold home Britain, it makes you want to go to Rwanda. I'll tell you something, I would be there now, but I've got family responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
That I can't pull out of.
Family?
Right?
What, the family?
Absolutely.
That family?
No, my family.
Oh,
so
right.
it's serious, and I can't go to Rwanda at this moment unless we lined up Rwanda very, very well, and me and the whole family go.
I'm just checking the weather.
That's one way out.
Yeah, just checking the weather in Rwanda. Well, it's raining tonight. This is the weather in Kigali in Rwanda. You ready?
Yes.
It's raining tonight and raining tomorrow and raining on Monday and raining on Tuesday and raining on Wednesday and raining on Thursday and raining on Friday and raining on Saturday and raining on Sunday and raining on Monday and raining on Tuesday and raining on Wednesday and raining on Thursday and raining on Friday. Wow. That's not what I would have expected. In fact, there's a thunderstorm every single day. I've never seen that. That's a cloud with lightning coming out of it every day.
Yes, that's good.
Well, it depends. Like one of those, if it's one of those places where you could set your watch by it, and there's a thunderstorm for half an hour at 3 o'clock, and then it stops within 30 minutes, and then you get steam rising off the pavement, and it just sort of washes away all the dirt and the filth. Well, that's okay. I quite like that.
No, I tell you something, though, Nick, right? No way should Rishi have given the French more money. I've been watching all this since 1991, right? I think I was the first one to see all this happening in Italy, right? And
see what happening?
This world crisis.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we've got to say. It's a world crisis.
What's the nature of this crisis?
Overpopulation.
Oh,
and bad management.
You're one of those. Overpopulation. So, okay. So how many people should we have in this country?
In this country, it's going to happen. In England, not UK.
Yeah, in England. Let's say
15 million.
15 million people, right? Well, we're going to have to kill a lot of people. Like a lot.
No.
Turn them into fertilizer.
No, we just education.
Right, we're going to educate them to death.
Right.
Yeah. You know what you get with that. You know what you get with that, Jane, is you get a society that's almost entirely old people with nobody left to do the work and the caring. Yeah, you do.
No.
You do.
No, not at all.
I'm afraid you do completely.
No, because the old people would have moved on. But this is something that is going to happen over about 40 years.
Right, and so in the intervening period,
going to make it happen.
In the intervening period, if we try to engineer it, then we just get a really old society. It's like a society of old people, and nobody's doing the work anymore because everybody's too old.
40 years.
Yeah.
So
all we got to do is get through the next 40 years and everything's going to be great.
Yes.
Jane, we're not going to be around that long. How old are you?
We won't be old people.
How old are you?
Will we?
No, we'll have fallen off life's conveyor belt.
Well, you will have.
Yeah.
Yes.
How old are you?
I'm not telling you.
You're 53.
I'm not telling you.
68 years. You're 68 years old.
No.
You don't look a day over.
No.
60.
No. Anyway, Nick.
If we've got to wait 40 years for things to get better, Jane, then count me out.
Anyway, the motoring party is going to sort all this.
Is it? Okay, well, I'll look up their website at my leisure. I'm not going to look up their website. But thanks for that, Jane. Thanks for that very important update. Bedford, hello, Marcus. Marcus?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Go on.
Yes, Marcus.
Who's there? Don't you think what he said is right?
Who?
Him. Like, Gary Willand. I'm still...
I'll leave that caller to fight amongst himself. He seems to be having a bad day. Fortunately, he shared that day with us. Us. That just doesn't sound right. I've been trying to say us, not us, but it just doesn't sound right to me. It sounds all a bit fishy.
This government.
I bet he says us. Right, I'll see if this bloke has collected his thought. Bedford, Marcus.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. You?
Hello?
Yes?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. You ready?
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, can hear you.
All right, you got until the clock strikes. Oh, too late. St Ives. Hello, Jay. Oh.
Hi, good evening.
Hello, Jay. Jay, you wouldn't mind waiting just one moment there, would you? I know you've been waiting.
I've been waiting.
I know you've been
40 minutes.
I know you've been waiting a long time.
Am I going to charge you or the LBC or?
Well,
okay.
Haven't we called you back?
No, you didn't.
Didn't we?
But that's okay. No, that's okay. That's okay.
Well, you've got two choices. Choice one, you've got 30 seconds, or choice two, you can come back after this short break. You have to make a choice within the 30 seconds that have been allotted to you. 25 now.
Can I come back after a short break?
He wants to come back after a short break. Isn't it exciting?
No.
He's going to go for the car. Trying to connect Jay in St Ives. Yes, Jay.
I was very productive right now. I was cleaning radishes, but while I was waiting
is
on the phone...
Is that a euphemism? He was cleaning radishes.
Disgusting.
Yeah,
Yes.
getting them ready, because I can't find turnips since Tourist Coffee mentioned them.
Yeah.
You can't find turnips anymore.
All sold out. That's right. Very, very popular.
Yeah, I've got a couple of points to make. In regards to this BBC sacking Gary Lineker...
They haven't sacked him.
I mean, he resigned or whatever.
He hasn't resigned.
He stepped down.
He hasn't stepped down. He's just not doing the show tomorrow, that's all.
Okay, so Russia Today...
Unless I missed the news. Has there been a development? I don't think so.
Russia Today. Why did the UK government stop Russia Today?
Because it was a propaganda arm of the Putin government.
So I think they need to reinstate it again.
Why?
Basically, the presenters there always supported Putin.
Yeah.
So pro-government message, right? And we banned them because we didn't like it. But now I think these Brexiteers trying to turn BBC into propaganda machine for them. So that's why they don't like it.
Brexiteers.
I mean, the Tory government.
Right. Well, every government, no government likes criticism, and this government, least of all. In fact, they've enacted laws that make it illegal to criticise them if anybody can hear or see you do it. If you can believe that, that's actually happened in this country, not China, not China, this country.
But I've got a good suggestion for BBC for tomorrow, because they don't have a presenters.
Yeah.
They could employ Nadim Zahavi and Liz Truss. Do a duet.
I think they should employ ChatGPT.
Correct.
Get a robot to do it.
Nadim Zahavi is very good with numbers. You got his sound bites, haven't you?
Yeah.
And Liz Truss is good at speech making.
Speech making.
Absolutely.
Yes, she's very, very clear about speech making.
I'm genuinely unclear.
About speech making.
Basically, that's what I wanted to say.
Okay,
Sorry.
well, it sounds like you said it. Excellent work there, Jay. Well weighted. Another satisfied customer. Let's have a call in Camden. Claire.
Hi, Nick.
Claire.
I want to say something about Matt Hancock.
Oh, forgotten all about him. Matt Hancock, yeah, like yesterday's news.
Yes, he's not top of the news today.
No.
But he's some sort of cock. And he said...
Hancock?
He said in his texts in WhatsApp that he wanted to scare the...
Pants off us.
The pants of the population, so as to make them comply with what he wants to do to them.
Well, yeah, okay.
Could this be the reason why he was keeping his own ones down most of the time?
Okay, Claire, you're not a listener with material, are you?
No.
I think you are. I think you are.
I don't know, maybe.
Well, I think so, yeah. I think it went from no to maybe, and if I let you on for another 10 seconds, it'll be yes, of course I am. Let's have a Bournemouth. Christine.
Hello?
Christine.
Oh, hi. I've been waiting a while.
Oh, really?
Stop whining.
Oh, bugger off. Okay, I'm going to cut to the chase. And what I really feel is that at the minute, I think our country looks like a real idiot in the face of things. But these are some little notes I put down. If we actually ran our country as a business, we'd be bankrupt, which we nearly are.
Yeah, but countries aren't run as a business.
I know that. I'm more than aware. But what I'm trying to say is, if we could make Great Britain great again, it would be so amazing.
Wouldn't that be fantastic? How would we go about making it great again?
Well, okay, all the argument in Parliament all the time, what you see is what you get. But all they do is argue. And I remember being like a tiny little baby, and I'm nearly 60 now.
60 years old.
Oh, thank you, nearly. But still very young at heart.
Yes.
And the thing is that nothing's changed since 1960.
That's not true, though, Christine, is it? That is completely untrue.
Is it?
Yes. Don't you remember the 1970s? The 1970s were awful. I mean, they were great for art, like music.
I know, we had the blackouts and the coal mining thing and everything.
Nothing worked at all. I mean, you think that nothing works now. Transport yourself back to the 1970s. And you can do that by just employing an old television programme. Just look at old episodes of The Sweeney, and they used to charge around this massive building site that was basically London. London was just a pile of rubble in the 1970s. And look at it now.
I know. Amazing. But what I'm saying is, I know I'm probably living in a...
fantasy. In a world of make-believe.
I was actually going to say a bubble.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be amazing if, like, just for once, all the parties could get together. We dissolved Parliament because it is so old-fashioned. It is so out of date. It goes back so far.
Yeah.
And we got the, all the good people to come together and sort it out with the healthcare, Department of Work and Pensions, like immigration.
Everybody should come together and be with one another right now.
I know. You're going
I want to buy the world a Coke in perfect harmony.
I know you're going to take the mickey out to me, but listen, I've actually had quite a troubled life. Actually,
right.
I'm not.
Okay, but we don't need to go into that though, Christine, because it's not relevant to the point you're making. And you're just
the point I'm making is that why can't we
get together? Come on, people.
Yeah, do a spring clean and like for one.
Yeah. Do the shake and vac to this entire country. Let's put the freshness back. Yes.
Oh, no, listen, I'm not a housewife. But what I'm trying to say is, I've been through a lot myself.
Yeah,
like
you said that, but we don't need to know about that because it's not relevant to your point.
It's not relevant at the minute. Okay, but what I'd love to do is dissolve the whole of Parliament.
Yeah, in acid. No, that's not fair. No, just dissolve it and get everybody around the table and knock some heads together. Yes. Yes. Of course.
Say that. You did.
I think that's what you just said. Yeah.
No, I said I'd like to dissolve Parliament, and you said in acid, and I thought that was quite funny.
No, not really. Offensive.
No, but what I was trying to say is that
you just want people to get together and work for the benefit of all humankind.
No,
you don't want that.
The best people we have in our country at the moment.
Who? Name one. Name one.
All the people. Northern Ireland, like Scotland, everything.
Wales.
Actually,
other countries are available.
I know, but like at the moment, I couldn't probably name one, and isn't that a shame?
Come on, Christine. There must be one single person that would get your vote. Give them complete control over everything that happens in this country, and let's see what happens. Name the person.
You know, to be really honest, I couldn't name one at the minute because I think that...
Is that because you can't actually think of one, or none of them pass muster?
No, not at all.
Right.
The thing is, not passing muster, absolutely. And the thing is that if some of these people were like true and honest and actually weren't worried about what the other people were thinking in Parliament.
If they were true and honest, they'd resign and live the rest of their lives in shame at what they've done.
Oh, they probably wouldn't be in shame. They'd probably just go off and say, ha, ha, ha.
Well, yeah, exactly right. They'd be so happy they can hardly count. Having monetised their position, precisely.
No, exactly that. And I think that's what's happening at the minute in GB. And I'm so, do you know what? I'm almost ashamed to say I'm British.
Sharp intake of breath.
I know. And I will say, I've lived...
Well, you know, in Dorset, I mean, it's hardly Britain, is it? I mean, it's so far...
Oh, hello.
It's so far away. I mean, does it even count? You're practically in France, Christine.
No, I'm not. Because I've lived in Spain, I've lived in Australia and the Caribbean.
Right, that doesn't sound very patriotic.
No, only because of, like...
What, like this country's a last resort to you?
No, not at all. Because I'm here and... Unfortunately, having to deal with... listen, you don't want to go into what I'm doing.
No, I don't.
But what I'm saying is...
What are you saying?
I've seen how other countries work.
Right. Bingo. Wouldn't it be nice to be like another country? Like, pick any other country that works relatively well. Let's do that. Let's do what they do.
Have I... Oh, does that mean I've won a lucky number for something?
Christine, you've won the car.
Oh my God!
Yes, check in your driveway right now. That car is sitting on the car that's sitting on your driveway is yours.
No.
Just pick up the keys and drive away.
I hope it's not electric. I've got nowhere to charge it.
I hope it's not electric. Well, good news, Christine. It's not electric.
Correct.
In fact, it doesn't exist. You'll never have to fill that car up, Christine. You'll never have to wash it or empty the ashtrays because it does not exist. This offer is not available in your area. Always read the label. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks a lot, Christine, for whatever that was. Liverpool. Hello, Vincent.
Hello, Nick. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks.
I'll tell you what, I'm gutted that woman won the car before. I'll tell you what, I bought some raffle tickets and she's cleared up. Hey, I hope she's not driving off now. What I'm saying, Nick, at the end of the day, Lineker, to me, he's always been a bore. Anyway, right, at the end of the day, he can say things, but the thing that matters, and no one says anything about this, is he said the Germans would do that. So I'm not Jewish. If I was a Jewish person, I'd be devastated with that comment, Nick.
Yeah.
And that's what, to me, and no one's mentioned it, that's flabbergasting to me. 1.3 million, to be honest, well, that's only 2 nick a week, isn't it? To be honest, that the Germans do that is flabbergasting.
Right, so are you...
But no one's mentioned it.
Are you saying that you're... I'm a little lost. Are you saying that you're sticking up for Germans now?
No, no, you can ask if you want, to be honest. I'll have another go with the car next year. Right, but the thing is Gary... I'll tell you what, it's not the RTR7, is it? Right, it's Gary Lineker saying the Germans would say... I sound like Stan Bowman. The Germans would say that.
Right.
Now, if I'm Jewish, I'd think, this is flabbergasting. This is flabbergasting to me, but no one's mentioned that.
Right.
Nick.
I'm still not entirely sure what it is you're saying. I don't know whether you...
I'll tell you what, Nick. I'll put it in layman's terms.
Thank you.
Gary Lineker said whatever he said. Fair enough. It doesn't worry anything like that. He's garbage in. But the thing he said is, if the asylum seekers were coming in, the Germans would have shot them all. Basically,
well, that is not what he said, and that's not what he implied either. He was very specific about what he said. And if you haven't read the tweet, then you should do, because it's very important, if you're talking about this, that you know what he precisely said. And the thing that he said was the language that was being used was I can't remember what the word was, redolent, perhaps, of the kind of language that was being used in 1930s Germany. And that's just true. An invasion. I believe that the Germans used that phrase. It's an invasion. So it's just factually accurate. He didn't go further than that. He didn't say that Rishi Sunak is Hitler or that we're going down the road to the Holocaust or any of that stuff. What he said was factually accurate, that they use the same terms. Thanks for that, mate. He's gone. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, shall we? Let's talk about Bodger Johnson, the elephant that looks like he's wearing a suit made for a buffalo. Mr. Blobby has been reselected as the government candidate in his Uxbridge and South Ruislip constituency. Could you find it on a map, Bodge? The Uxbridge and South Ruislip Conservative Association applauded the former Prime Minister's commitment to the community. Funny, no?
No.
They said it looks forward to continuing to work alongside him. Looks forward to continuing to work without him, more like. Mr. Blobby's reselection comes following the expectation that he would seek out a safer seat ahead of the next general election. He holds a 7,000 vote majority, but his seat is seen as a target for Labour at the next election. He only won because the students at Uxbridge University couldn't be bothered to go out and vote. That's right, isn't it, kids?
Oh, yeah, it's like so boring. I don't want to. It's raining out. I'll do it tomorrow. I'm busy.
Bodger will once again contest the seat at the next election and will win it once again unless you steweds get up out of your pits and go and vote. It will, of course, mean that he will briefly visit the South Ruislip and Uxbridge constituency, taking photographers with him, probably at our expense, to record the event when he'll dress up in somebody else's work clothes, do his act for 5 minutes, and then remember a prior engagement with somebody else's money. Or he might need to go to Ukraine again, depending on whether it's a good day to run away from bad news, eh, Bodge?
Yeah. Wait.
And that next election can be held no later than January the 24th, 2025. Unless they announce a security emergency and the election is cancelled for our safety and everybody has to stay indoors.
Emergency, everybody to get from street. Emergency, everybody to get from street.
And Johnson's concern for the people of Uxbridge and South Ruislip has meant that he has made more than £1 million in speaking fees, otherwise known as doing his act, for audiences who seem weirdly eager to give him more money than any stand-up comedian would ever get for an after-dinner speech. I mean, does anyone really believe that he is tirelessly working on behalf of his constituents? Pouring through the mail he gets, listening to their tales of woe.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
No. Invested in their sad lives, is he? Determined to make them better? If you do believe that, by the way, I have a house on the edge of a cliff in Norfolk I'd like to sell you. And all this might never come to pass. Bodge might get thrown out into the world to make as much money as he possibly can if he gets chucked out for lying to Parliament. He's going to face a televised grilling next week from officials investigating whether he lied to the Commons over Partygate. And we know what he thinks on that.
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times.
All times.
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times.
At all times.
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times.
I believe you.
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times.
Yeah, keep saying the same thing over and over again, and even if we don't believe you, we'll believe you. He followed the rules at all times. Have you heard? And I betcha that the committee meets and finds in his favour. Case closed, nothing to see here. Please move along or you'll wake up in Rwanda. In an interim report... In an interim report, the Privileges Committee said the evidence strongly suggests breaches of coronavirus rules would have been obvious to Mr Johnson during the Partygate saga. Yeah, you'd think so. Who doesn't know they're having a party in their own house? It is said that he will need to convince MPs that he did not knowingly mislead the House with his denials of lockdown-breaching parties being held in Number 10 if he is to avoid censure. Censure? I mean, come on. The thing is, he won't have to convince MPs of anything of the sort. They're convinced already. Convinced that they are Conservative, and that's what they'll vote as. Conservative. Because the penalty is not going to be decided by this committee. And the papers always say of these committees, the powerful whatever committee is meeting today to grill some civil servant or MP. They're not powerful at all. They have zero power. Nothing ever happens after a grilling from these committees. Zero. Nothing at all. You've seen people, famous people, sit and get grilled by these committees. What happens afterwards? Nothing. Powerful. The penalty is going to be decided by the House of Commons. So even if he was caught in the study with a lead pipe and Colonel Mustard dead on the ground, having written "It was Boris" on the wall in his own blood before he died, the Tories in the House of Commons will all vote no punishment, and that'll be that.
Oh, fabulous.
Why are they going through this charade? They mark their own homework, decide on their own punishment. Of course he's going to get off scot-free. He always does. The committee is going to publish its findings on whether Blobby Johnson committed a contempt of Parliament and would make a recommendation on any punishment. Thank you, sir. May I have another? But the ultimate decision is going to fall to the House of Commons. And as the Tories have a huge majority, they win, game over. A suspension of more than 10 sitting days could lead to a recall for Mr Johnson in his Uxbridge and South Ruislip constituency. The former Prime Minister is expected before the Cross-Party Commons Privileges Committee at 2 p.m. next Wednesday. Isn't it exciting?
No.
Not really. We know what's going to happen. I'm telling you right now. So Fishy Sunak is going to give Conservative MPs a free vote on Boris Johnson's future if the Privileges Committee finds that he deliberately misled Parliament about Downing Street pandemic parties.
I followed the ministerial guidance
at all times. Yeah, I know. Almost a year after the investigation began. A year. Almost a year after the investigation began, Bodger Johnson faces a televised hearing on Wednesday afternoon in which he must convince 7 MPs that he was not in contempt of the Commons when he denied claims about lockdown rule breaking. In which he will be just as truthful as he always is. Ain't that right, Bodge? Yes. If the committee finds against Johnson, he may be suspended from the Commons. He may be chastised. A suspension of more than 10 days would automatically trigger a recall petition allowing Johnson's constituents to force a by-election. And I wouldn't be remotely surprised if they voted for him again. Because the students will be too busy, you know, I like countdowns on television. I'll do it later. I'll do it next week. I can't be bothered. What an absolute shower. I find the kids quite disappointing. How about you? If the committee finds against Johnson, he may be suspended or chastised or thrashed. Not the latter one. I bet every single Tory MP votes for him to get away with it. I bet every single one does that. They'll all say, oh, no, I'm voting with my conscience and I can't, he's beyond the pale. He's just gone too far now. I'm definitely not going to vote for them. And then they do it anyway. The committee's verdict is going to have to be approved by a vote of MPs. And Johnson's allies are already preparing to use the moment to proclaim his innocence and, in a few cases, make goo-goo eyes at him like they're in love, LUV. Ain't that right, Liz?
Absolutely.
Sunak's understood to have decided that he will not whip MPs to protect his predecessor, allowing them instead to make their own decisions. Yeah, based on their conscience. Good one, Fishy. Funny. They won't make their own decisions. They'll think, shall we let one of our own get done by the other side, or will we protect him knowing he's guilty as sin? And they'll do it because they're all guilty too. Because every time one of them stood up in the House to repeat some lie they'd been told to spout, or went on the telly or the radio to parrot some towering untruth in defence of the indefensible Bodge and the regime, they've all become accomplices. So of course they're going to let him off. Because if they didn't, they'd set themselves up for a light spot of justice too. So the Party of Law and Order, which has spent the past 13 years systematically dismantling the forces of law and order, will drive the final nail in the coffin by allying themselves with a proven liar and a verifiable shower of a man because it suits them to do so. And in one breath, they'll then pivot and demand that anyone else that breaks the law is given the harshest treatment possible. Just not them. You know, punishments for the little people.
The little people.
Not leprechauns. Johnson is submitting his written statement rebutting the criticisms to be published early next week. The hugely expensive phalanx of top legal minds is busy writing it for him, I expect. Paid for by us, poor dopes who pay taxes. And never mind about all of that. How about we concentrate on the fact that Bodger has made a 7-figure sum in about as many weeks, never pays for anything himself, and still we are picking up his legal bill. Where's the justification for that?
I can't comment on that.
His legal team won't let him comment on that. It's expected to be a legal submission that Johnson believes backs his case that he was not informed about any lockdown-breaking events. He was at lockdown-breaking events. Who doesn't know they're at a party or not? Have you ever been to a party and weren't aware that there was a party going on?
No.
Me neither. No one has. Except the man who used to be entrusted to run the whole country. He has such a shaky grasp on reality, he doesn't know the difference between a business meeting and a rave-up. The Mail says he has spent much of the last month locked in preparations for the hearing with his lawyers. His lawyers. Our lawyers. We're paying for them. And can you imagine what it's going to cost us? I mean, lawyers that must be on thousands of pounds an hour, locked in preparations for a month. It's going to come to millions. Very expensive to those that can't afford them, free to those that can. And his allies have called the committee a stitch-up and an organised lynching. And it is, in the sense that a criminal up for murder would think that the court was a stitch-up because the judge doesn't regard murder in a favourable light. That judge is biased against murderers, he'll say. What a stitch-up. And as for organised lynching, well, I think a few of the more purple-faced buffoons on the Tory backbenches need to calm down, just a little bit. Your boy's going to get off. Stop the hyperventilating. You're going to have an accident. Johnson's evidence could last for up to 5 hours, apparently. Wow. I find that surprising. I mean, how long does it take to say, I don't remember? I don't recall. His legal team, led by Lord Panic... Don't panic, you've got Lord Panic on your side. They aren't going to be allowed to answer questions on his behalf, though they may pass him notes during questioning. Notes like, your hair's flat at the back, better ruffle it up real quick. Your act is slipping.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
And some Tories are saying that they'll vote against the budget if the committee says guilty. I bet they don't. It's all about whether you're a shark or a jet. When you're a jet all the way. From your first cigarette to your last dying day.
Rock and roll!
Woodford, David.
Yes, good evening, Sid.
David.
It's all very well saying about the immigration, but because of past experience of what has happened with regards to immigration, people are scared and people are not welcoming it. If you have a look when we had the free immigration and the large swathes of the country, which the Polish people and the European came in, changed the area.
How did the Poles change the area, other than open Polish supermarkets?
The areas changed. East Anglia changed.
Yeah, but how?
People, the residents did not like the foreign people to come into their area.
Well, nobody likes change, so we can agree on that. But what was it that Polish people did that was so concerning?
It was not the Polish people. It was the lifestyles of people changed within Britain.
Right, but in what way?
Let me finish. Please let me finish. If you have a look in the election, people were very anti this. For whatever reason, they were very anti this.
Well, people voted, if you're talking about Brexit, people voted for to leave the European and stated that their reasons were for fear of or dislike of foreigners. The more they had a fear, the less likely it was that their area actually had any foreigners in it.
But whether or not it was true, it is a fear that happened. Now, once we get...
Did you just say whether or not it was true, it's a fact? Essentially, that's what you just said, isn't it? Whether or not it was true, it's a fact. I think we're going to leave it there, David. Apart from anything else, I've actually run out of time, but I don't think I can top that. Doesn't matter whether it's true or not. It doesn't prevent it from being a fact. Dartford, Francis.
Nicholas, darling, how are you? Long time no speak.
Haven't I been lucky? Thanks a lot, Francis.
Thanks
Appreciate it.
for putting me through.
Yes.
Doris.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. He really disappointed me.
Oh, no.
Dreadfully.
You're not angry, you're just disappointed.
I am angry with him.
Oh, you're angry and disappointed.
Yes, totally. And if there was an election in the morning, I wouldn't be voting for him, even though I've voted Conservative since I came to this country in 1975.
Mm.
And
now,
then
why since 1975? That implies that you haven't really thought about it. You just went like an automaton every time there was an election.
Maggie Thatcher.
And just voted for the same people over and over again without the reason why crossing your mind, like a robot you are.
Affirmative. No, I'm not. No, I voted for Maggie Thatcher.
Oh, yes. Maggie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she gave people, I had a council, Masonette.
She gave people... What?
She gave people who were on the right to buy their council places.
Right. You think that was her being generous, do you?
Very generous to me at the time. Why are you laughing at me?
Well, it wasn't generous at all. It was essentially gerrymandering, which was giving the people in places that would ordinarily vote Labour the ability to buy their council house, thereby depriving the state of council houses and making it more likely that a home owner would vote Conservative.
Yes. Well, Bob Dunn came around to see me, and nowadays nobody comes to see you. Bob Dunn came around to see me and questioned me. I was...
Who's Bob Dunn?
Bob Dunn was the MP for Dartford at the time.
Right.
They have a road name.
Well, what's that got to do with Boris Johnson?
Because he's Conservative.
Okay. And he came to see you?
I vote tactically, though, as well.
What does that mean?
Well, if I don't want Conservative, if I don't want Labour, I'll vote for the monster raving loony party.
Yeah, well, that won't do you any good. When was the last time you didn't want Conservative?
Right now. Oh, no.
Right, so you've never not voted Conservative?
I have always voted Conservative.
That's what I'm saying. Never
Tony
not
Blair
voted.
got in, I voted tactically.
Conservative?
No.
Oh.
I voted for some other that I didn't go.
Right.
I was sure they wouldn't get in.
Yeah, like the Groovy Green is. Groovy. The Green is.
Anyone.
Anyone would do it. Yeah. So when you voted for Boris Johnson as the London mayor, were you completely satisfied in every way, shape, or form?
I was, because I thought he had the makings of a good, but he hasn't makings of a good prime minister. But he disappointed me terribly.
Yeah, we know about his about our experience of him as prime minister, which was completely disastrous in every way. But what about him as mayor?
Yes, he was fun, and he was
fun.
I don't know. He was fun. You see him on his bike.
If you want fun,
he'd appeal to the younger
tune in
set of people.
Anton Deck. Fun. We don't want fun from politics.
No, we don't. No Mickey Mousing. You've got to get done. Yeah. A leader leads by example, anyway.
Yeah. Well, that ain't him. Not. No way. Wait. Yeah, don't follow his example. You end up in jail.
I listened to Nick Ferrari interviewing him on LBC.
Yes.
And he was asking how many children he had,
and he said...
He's married. And now Mr. Johnson, for the third or fourth time, going to... He still didn't answer. He avoided the question.
Yeah. But you were happy with him anyway?
He's not honest. No,
as
I'm
mayor.
not happy with him. No, I wasn't. And when I saw
That's not what's on my... I just have to say, Francis, that is not what is on my screen, which means that that's not what you told my glamorous assistant. What's on my screen, it says, I want to come on about Boris Johnson. I voted for him as I thought he was a good mayor. That's what you said.
I didn't say that. You said that.
I didn't... Well, I had said it, but that's what you told the chap next door.
No,
because that's what he wrote on the screen. Either he is not telling the truth.
No, I didn't. He's telling porkies. You better
or
question
you
him
are.
after the show.
I will quiz him at length.
You're funny, you are.
Right.
No, honestly, a leader leads by example. And during the pandemic, I mean, people suffered.
Yeah.
They abided. Some people abided, some people didn't. Sometimes I broke the rules. I lost a colleague, and she was 93. I had to go and see her. Her relatives came over from Australia to look after her. Her daughter here looked after her, and you sat outside or looked through her window to see her.
Well, okay, but this doesn't have anything to do with Boris Johnson, so you kind of off topic a little bit.
Because he was partying.
He was
partying,
but he didn't. In his defence, he didn't know he was at a party, even though people were bringing in suitcases full of booze. And people were throwing up on the walls and having sex in the basement. You know, just like an ordinary business meeting.
Yes. But when you see pictures of him in the garden with his colleagues, with his team.
Yeah. A little light afternoon refreshment.
Booze.
Yeah.
Either in 11 Downing Street or 12 Downing Street or in 10 Downing Street, wherever.
Other numbers are available.
And when you see the Queen sitting silently in
exactly
Portugal
right.
while her husband was late,
correct.
It just got to me.
And so you became less delighted with his performance.
Yes, and I would not vote for him in the morning if there was an election in the morning. I wouldn't be voting for him.
Right? Is that a promise?
He disappointed badly. That's promised. I swear.
There you are, Boris. You just lost. You've lost a fan.
No,
all right.
Seriously.
Thanks a lot, Francis. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Cheers, my dear.
Nicholas.
Bye. Anybody in London that was completely satisfied in every way, shape, and form with Boris Johnson as our mayor? Anyone at all? You in the back there? Brixton. Rob.
Brixham.
What?
Brixham.
Brixham. Oh, Brixham. Brixham. Right, not Brixton. Brixham.
No,
right.
Yes.
Brixham. Yes.
Yes. Nick, you bang on about, Gary Lineker and Suella Braverman. My brother has worked for 42 years in this country.
Oh, yes.
He cannot claim housing benefit. He cannot get universal credit. He can't do anything. And my other brother is having to put him up and support him.
Let me guess whose fault that is.
Half a mile down the road, people are living in 4-star hotels.
Oh, I know, life of luxury. Let me guess whose fault that is.
You tell me.
Is it the government's fault?
Well, it's also people like you, which I'm a big fan of. It's also people like you banging on in support of everyone else apart from the British people.
Yeah, that's what I do, Rob. If that's what you heard, then I'm going to send you one of those kits to remove wax from your ears. You think that I do nothing but support, but I do nothing... Oh, never mind. I can't be bothered getting an argument with you about that.
No,
that's just nonsense.
Tell me, why can't my brother get benefits?
Well, who's been in power for the last 13 years, Rob?
Conservatives.
Would you think that they might have something to do with that?
Well, quite a bit.
Approximately how much, percentage-wise?
Well, why does everyone blame the Conservatives?
Because they've been in power for 13 years, Rob. Would you prefer that we blamed Labour?
Well, I'm sure they've got a bit to do with it, although they're not in power.
Yeah. So what would they have to do with it, having been out of power for 13 years?
The Labour Party, Nick, are, as I don't want to say, as weak as beer. You go into a bad pub and you get a bad pint, and it's a pint of you-know-what.
Rob, they haven't been in power for 13 years. Are you seriously telling me it's their fault?
No, they've not been in power for 13 years because they're as weak as a bad pint.
Right, so it's the state of the country is Labour's fault because they're weak.
No, that's not what I said.
But it is what you said. I thought that's exactly what you said.
I said that the Labour have not been in power for 13 years because they're as weak as a bad pint.
Right. So how is the state of the nation Labour's fault?
Well, because they've got no one as corrupt as the Conservatives, if you like.
Now I'm confused. Now I don't know which side you're arguing for, Rob. Do you?
Nick, listen, I'm a long-time listener, but I love listening to your show, right?
Buzz.
This country is going down the swamp.
Yes, exactly. And would you like me, a small, insignificant voice on the radio, to describe it for you, or would you prefer that I just told you that everything was okay?
I don't know that.
Right. Well, you think about it, and as soon as you figure it out, you let me know. All right.
Nick,
yeah.
Listen. I've listened to you for 5 years.
Well, I appreciate it.
And not to put
too fine a point on this.
A downer or that.
Yes.
On James O'Brien, but you're starting to sound like him a little bit.
Yeah.
You're becoming one-sided.
Becoming?
Well, you're nearly as bad as him.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll check myself, Robert. How does that sound?
Good.
All right. I'm going to, in this next news break, I'm going to give myself a good, like a stern talking to.
Good.
Yeah. Fisticuffs may be involved. I might have to beat myself up a bit. All right. Thanks a lot, Rob. Appreciate it. Islington, Adam.
Hi, Nick. I don't want to be like the negative one as your last caller, but I don't agree with the last caller, and I'm not a fan of the Conservative parties at all. But I want to look at I know there's the ethical, the moral, the dutiful one, perspective, but just looking at it from a pure economic point, if junior doctors' salary goes up again, it impacts massively the way salaries and the bands work within the NHS. And I'm not saying that in itself per se is a problem, but then it doesn't actually resolve the issue around inflation and the impact of inflation on cost of living. If anything, what will happen is inflation will be pushed further. And I don't like Rishi.
I don't think there's any evidence that it would do that.
So supply and demand. So if you're then
but they're not working in a business that is subject to supply and demand. I mean, if they're in a factory that made widgets and all of the workers got a 30% pay rise, then the price of widgets would go up. But nobody pays for the service of the NHS in cash money at point of use. It's a completely false argument.
Well, if they're going shopping, for example, right, they're going to a supermarket and then they're able to buy a lot more, that will push up prices of products.
Well, it wouldn't, because they're not buying luxury products. They would be buying, they'd be paying their gas bill and their electricity bill, which are one of the two reasons that inflation is up in the first place. Nothing that they would do, nothing that they would get would actually affect inflation at all.
I don't buy that position. I really respect you, Nick. I just don't buy that position. How if they're able to then spend, if they're able to then, and it sounds bad. I'm not trying to say they shouldn't heat their homes, but if they're then heating as normal, how can that not impact the supply and demand cost? That doesn't make sense to me. There is an impact on the way.
But they would only impact if they were competing with each other to buy luxury goods, to buy goods that can go up and down with the supply and demand. But they wouldn't. They earn £14 an hour. They're not going to be going out and buying cashmere hoodies or Rolls-Royce cars. They're going to be buying vegetables. Despite the empty shelves in some of the supermarkets just recently, there is no shortage of vegetables. People compete with each other over the last floret of broccoli is not going to put the price of food up. Just isn't. It's a completely false argument. They aren't going to affect the inflation rate. Inflation is going to come down naturally anyway, regardless of what the government does. But of course, they will take the credit for it if it does. And if it doesn't, then it's the junior doctor's fault. But it isn't. Don't buy that argument. Lewisham. Hello, Daniel.
Oh, hello, Nick. Yes, I was just listening to your sort of critique of our politics, and it's all a bit depressing, really, isn't it?
Oh, no. Were you depressed? That wasn't my intention.
Oh, well, I mean, you did it in a light-hearted way, but all this talking down our politics and talking down the country, we need to get behind. We need to get behind something and be a bit positive, don't you think?
Get behind what?
Well, that's a good question, but this country's in a crisis, I think, and I don't think all of these commentators talking us down are going to help very much.
So what you're saying is that we should support the government?
I'm saying that we should support policies that are going to help get us out of the mess we're in.
For instance?
I really like the idea of removing the pension taxes.
Do you? Are you a millionaire, Daniel?
I'm not a millionaire, no.
Right, OK,
no.
So it's not going to affect you?
It's not going to affect me, but...
So why do you like that policy, to gift money to millionaires?
Well, because I think that people,
Because you think that one day you'll win the lottery and you'll become one of those people. Yeah, you won't.
No, but I think we're talking about pension savings here, and that's people who've worked hard all their lives. They should be able to keep that.
They've worked hard and done the right thing. Right, I see. So you're okay with a millionaire getting £250,000 bung from the government?
I'm okay with the government giving tax breaks to people who've worked hard and to millionaires.
But it's not going to everybody. It's only going to the super rich, about the top 1% of the country. But you're okay with that?
It's going to people who've worked hard all their lives.
It's going to the top 1% of the country. They might not have worked a day in their lives. They might have just inherited their money. I mean, money tends to stay within families for generations.
I mean, that may be the case, but...
I'm just curious to know why you... I mean, you don't have to tell me, Daniel, but what sort of wage do you earn? Is it above 100,000 a year?
No, it's not.
Is it below 50,000 a year?
No, it's not.
It's not below, so it's between 50 and 100?
Yes.
Right, so there's no way you're ever going to be one of the people that are going to benefit from what the government has just done. So you are essentially paying taxes that the government takes and gives to richer people than you. I'm curious as to why you would think that that's a good idea, other than this notion that people have of, well, let's give the rich a break because one day I might be one of those people. Here's the news, Daniel. You won't. If you ain't rich now, you're never going to be, unless you win the lottery.
I suppose I'm ambitious for our country, and I don't think there's anything wrong with people earning money and putting it in their pensions and spending it when they get old. That's.
You really aren't listening to a word I'm saying, are you? They're taking money from you, your taxes, and they're giving it to people that are richer than you.
Okay, well, if
you're okay with that, that's just fine, right? Okay, I get it. All right, okay, thanks, Daniel. Well, let's be proud. Let's be proud that the government seems to be on a mission to transfer wealth from the poorest to the richest. I mean, it's a really good idea if you think about it, because what are a lot of poor people going to do with an extra £10, say? I mean, if every person in the country just gave £1 and we gave it to one rich person, then that rich person would be £65 million better off. It would make a massive difference to that one person, and the rest of us, well, no big deal. So let's do that. But if you don't support the government, then you are somehow being unpatriotic. That's the part I don't get. The government has got this country up on bricks. It's nicked the wheels and is stripping the rest of the car for parts. And if we don't support that, we're being unpatriotic? Am I losing my mind? Holland Park. Hello, Nick.
Oh, hi, Nick. I must say I think it's a slightly bonkers scheme, the Rwanda thing, and I want to go back to what you said. It's a rather crude way, I think, and the government not really being honest about what they're doing, which is effectively trying to drive asylum seeking down to pretty much zero, because the system seems to be you can only claim asylum once you arrive in the UK. Oh, by the way, when you arrive by the only practical route, you then can't claim asylum because you're illegal.
Yeah.
Is that pretty much it? Stupid.
I think so, yeah. That old song, There's a Hole in My Bucket, if you remember that one.
Something like that.
Yeah, and round and around and around it goes.
I think I hear a lot from the opponents of that policy. I hear the term used all the time, safe and legal routes. And I've got a concrete proposition for you, which I'd like to just quickly, I'll do it as quickly as I can, expand, and you can say, yeah, this sounds like a scheme, and this is how it would work, and this is what the consequences would be. Because I think no one, I hear it all the time, and I've never heard anyone say what safe and legal would be, but I've got a very good idea for doing it. Clearly, you can't have people walking into British embassies. They're all monitored, festooned, watched by the Taliban, by the Iranian secret services, totally dangerous. But why not do it online? Even people in these war-torn countries have mobile devices and computer tablets, and you apply online. And what I'd like to do is examine that just for a country, because it makes it much less abstract. You pick, please, Nick, from Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen.
Iran.
Excellent. Let's do Iran. I like that one. So, and by the way, I picked those four because the Home Office, it currently accepts more than 90% of asylum claims from those countries, people arriving by boat and elsewhere. And so they're useful in that respect. So let's say the scheme works like this. Online application, you don't have to go into British Embassy or consulate or anything like that. The next step is, how would people get from Iran? I would say the Iranians and most of those other regimes, they're cash poor and they're despotic. So it should be pretty easy that if someone applies and they're accepted, to say to the regime there, actually, we'll pay you a couple of £100, £300 per person, much cheaper than putting in asylum hotels in the UK, for them to give them safe passage to leave. So that bit's easy. So next part of the jigsaw is, if we know that 90% of claims from those countries are accepted, what percentage, so Iran, what percentage of the Iranian population would you, Nick, say that would want to apply to come to the United Kingdom? And actually, it ties into your last call. I thought that's a bit disingenuous. Britain's rubbish. These other countries are not that bad. Why would anyone want to come here? I do think we live in a wonderful country, and I can't imagine anyone pretty much not wanting to come here unless you're already in Australia or New Zealand. But what would you say, out of the Iranian population, we can pick, I've got a number in my head, but I'd love to know what you would think. And by the way, remember, it's safe. You can do it online, and you don't have to leave your loved ones behind, because I think the scheme should be that, it's not just one person, it's like your family.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I would think it'd be a very small percentage, most of whom would want to go back to Iran, because let's not forget, Iran is a wonderful, beautiful country full of marvellous people.
Amazing. Yeah, and I know lots of Persians. We had a lovely Persian fellow actually to dinner last night, my wife and I, sort of another waif and stray from there. He's actually Persian, not Arabic. They're lovely. And, apparently it could be a fantastic tourist destination. It's fertile.
Oh, it's a stunning place. It is, yeah.
It has a despotic regime who don't look like they're going anywhere anytime soon. So go on, give me a percentage.
Well, let's say 1%, just to, move this on.
You think if it's free and that easy, only 1% of Iranians would say, yeah, we can all hop on a plane with the whole family and come to Britain? 1%?
Yeah, I reckon.
I wanted to say half the population.
Half?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
It's a horrible place. All the Iranians I meet in London, and I actually know quite a few, I must say they're all Persian Iranians, all come in and all want to leave, and none of them want to go back. Okay, I'll take your...
Well, none of them want to go back. None of them want to go back because of the regime. I mean, specifically because of that. They miss their country just as anybody would.
Okay, Nick, just for argument's sake, I absolutely do. I mean, this will be the usual thing of, like, Labour originally saying, oh, don't worry about the accession states in Eastern Europe. We're only expecting 5,000 or 10,000 turned into 500,000. But let's take the Russ Abbot number, 1%. I think that's a fantasy. And say 1% of people come from Iran, they apply, and 90% of them are accepted, because the Home Office currently accepts 90%. Tell me what that number is, because I know what it is.
This sounds like a maths test, Nick. Can we just get to what your point is?
The number?
Yeah.
On your piteously low estimate, that would be 800,000 people just from one country. Now, how do you think that's going to work?
How do I think that's going to work? Well, so by your estimate, you said half. So you really think that half of Iran would come here if they could?
No, that's not half. That's 1%.
No, but you were going to say...
I'm saying I think half, but I'm going...
All right, okay. All right. Well,
low...
All right, okay. So, all right. So I defer to your more accurate figure. Let's say half. You seriously think that half of Iran would come here if they could?
No, I'm wrong. It's just what I think in my head.
I mean, this is the poster that we had about all the Turks coming. We were going to have tens of millions of Turks coming here. It's just a fantasy.
No, it's not. I'm going with your figure.
All right. Well, what is the point, Nick?
the point is that 1% of the Iranian population, less a few because some won't get accepted, is 800,000 people.
Yes.
And I'm saying that would be a good way to do it. It's safe, it's proportionate. They wouldn't have to run the gauntlet of coming across the Channel or through France or any of that rubbish. And I'm saying, can you see, and if we could then apply that to Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, all the other countries, but let's take Iran only, can you see any flaw at all in that safe and legal route scheme?
Well, yes, I can. The flaw is that they wouldn't all come here. They would be they would disperse around the rest of the world. Most of the people that are fleeing a country end up in the country, end up either in another part of the country that they're in, or in the country that's right next door. Nick, you appear to be one of these people that thinks that everybody wants to come here, even though that's not how you started this rather tortuously long argument. Elford, where's that, Rob?
Hello.
Where's Elford?
Ilford.
Oh, Ilford. Right, yeah. Ilford.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, listen, mate, I love to think about Lineker and all that. Social media, right, anyway, besides all that, my point being, so Gary Lineker makes a point on social media, on Twitter, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not...
Twitter, yes.
Yes, yeah. But what makes me laugh is now that his old colleagues, Wrighty and Shearer, is thinking to their guns, brother, we're with you, brother, we won't be there on...
right.
Who cares?
What?
Did you remember the start of the World Cup?
Who cares?
Yeah, who cares if they're not going to be on the Match of the Day on Saturday night?
Well, it's going to be a bit weird watching it with no commentators and no presenters
exactly,
and no nothing.
Anyway? But don't get me wrong. But do you remember the start of the World Cup, Nick?
What about which bit?
An anti-thing about because of the regime in Qatar.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they didn't show the opening ceremony. They was all sat there, right? They was all sat there on BBC or ITV or whatever.
Yeah.
And what happened there? Where was their so-called scruples in? Oh, we can't do this, we can't do that. Oh, look at Qatar. It's this, it's that, it's other. And you think, well, I know it's not about to whatever Lineker said, but so where is the scruples? What are they saying?
Right, so you're saying that you can't...
If that was that much inclined about anti-this and that...
Okay, so what you're saying is that if you have a left-wing thought, then you must lead your entire life along left-wing principles. Is that right?
No, not
Yes,
at all.
yes, it is. That's 100% what you just said.
Yeah, but I'm saying, if you've got them principles, right?
Right. So if you care about people, then
why would you then sit around a studio?
Because it's the World Cup
in Qatar. Yeah. How much was they getting paid?
I don't know. Probably a lot. What difference does that make?
Jumping ship to the ITV or to the NBC and to the other.
Right.
But that's my point.
That's your point?
I can't understand why is it all of a sudden now they've all want to be. I'm with you, brother.
Right, but it's not all of a sudden. Gary Lineker's been tweeting about government policy for ages. He's been tweeting about what you would call, I imagine, what you would call wokery. He ain't just woke up. He's been woke for a long time.
We've all been woken up for a long time, mate. We've listened to all of it.
Right, I've got no idea what that means.
Point.
Oh, there's another thing.
Another point.
Yeah.
Can I make one?
What?
Water companies. How on earth this government telling water companies who are making hundreds of millions of pounds of profit, you're polluting the whole country. England is now a polluted country. Rivers, left, right, centre.
Yeah.
What we'll do, we're just we'll let you deal with that, shall we? Yeah. So, well, that's okay. That's great, isn't it?
Right. Okay. Well, at least we can agree on one thing. I think that what you're saying is polluting Britain's waterways is a bad thing, and I'll agree with you 100% there. No problem at all. Everything else you just said, not too sure. Richmond, Sanjay.
Hey.
Yes, Sanjay.
Yeah. I was saying, UK has got a legal migration route of work permit, visitor visa, high skill migrant program. I came on a high skill migrant program and settled down in UK. If we are not going to respect this and allow people coming by board, why do we have those programs? Because get a work permit, it's a hard work. We spend a good money, we have to justify our qualification. It's my concern on the migration bill.
Right. So you're saying that there should be a... What was it again?
I was saying that there is a legal route. People should adhere to the legal route for coming to UK.
Right, so people should adhere to a legal route for coming to the UK. But what if the government stops all legal routes?
But we have a legal route now. You got a work permit, you got a high skilled migrant program. That's where it's going to come. See, I'm talking about
there's only a legal route if you are from certain countries. Other countries that are
economic migrant. Yeah.
Well, they're either economic migrants or they're fleeing persecution or war or starvation or whatever it might be.
For that,
I mean, we actually need economic migrants. What's interesting is, comical actually, that while Rishi Sunak is playing the tough guy about this invasion, he is also simultaneously opening up the country to economic migrants, people who can come here and do some of the million jobs that are currently not being done. That part he's not really publicising very much. But that's actually happening in concert with this, pretending that they're going to push them away, and it is a pretense, really. I mean, the government has already acknowledged they've actually written it on the bill. We recognise that this bill is probably illegal. They actually wrote that on the front of the bill. They didn't use those precise words, but that was the it of it. We recognise that this bill is probably illegal, but we're going to do it anyway. At the same time that they're doing that, making a big show of it, they're also opening the back door and allowing the very people that they're pushing away in. I mean, you just really couldn't make it up. Manchester, Sam?
Yeah.
Sam?
Yeah. Hi.
Sam?
I just want to say that someone maybe you might consider that the fact that the Conservative Party haven't done so badly. I know you portray that they're doing badly, but maybe they haven't done so badly after all, and that's why Labour are going down, because people are just saying, oh, let's go back to Conservative.
Right, but by what measure are the Conservatives not doing that badly?
By what measure are they doing things badly, apart from when you just blow up everything and make it bad?
Me?
They're not actually doing badly.
Me?
Yeah, you.
So the problem with wait a minute. The problem with the Conservative Party's performance is me.
No,
really.
You think the problem. You think the Conservative Party have a problem.
Yes.
No one else does.
Well, I think that this country has a problem under their leadership. Yes, that seems to be undoubtable.
Yeah, but there's two things over here. Number one is just look at the voice of the country giving their opinion on polls. They don't think that.
Well, they do. They do think that, Gary.
It doesn't really make sense.
Well, yes, they do. I mean, the latest poll shows the gap narrowing, but it still puts Labour on 43 and the Tories on 32. Now, last time I checked, 32 is a smaller number than 43.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, good point. Yes, it is. No, but they're doing better than they... nobody's going to deny they did do terrible. They did do terrible.
The Tories did?
Now.
OK, by what measure? Better in what way?
By not doing bad. That's it. Yes, you can laugh.
No.
That's it.
Well, yeah, I am laughing because that's not really an answer. But how are they doing better? What is it that they are doing that's doing...
They're just governing. They're just governing.
Yeah,
they're not in the plus. They're just going ahead with things.
Right, like what? What is it that they're doing that attracts you so?
By not doing anything badly. What's the government's job? The government's job. I'm not here to tell them what the government's jobs are.
Right.
The government has their jobs, and they're doing their job very nicely.
What are you here to tell us?
I'm here to tell you that the way you're portraying the Conservative Party
is unfair.
Is not how people view it.
Right. It is how people view it. More people would prefer the Labour Party was in power than the Conservative Party.
Correct, but they're not doing badly now.
Yeah, but they are. They're doing very, very badly indeed.
Well, that doesn't make sense.
By what measure are they doing well? Sam?
I'll tell you, it doesn't make sense to say they're doing badly if they are regaining their momentum.
Well,
you could say that
the result of one poll does not mean they're regaining their momentum. They've only gone up 3 percentage points since December, and they now sit at 32%, which is less than a third of those who expressed a preference having the intention of voting for them next time around, which means that they would get wiped out. Which part of that suggests to you that they're doing well?
The fact that they're not going down in the polls. They're going up. They're building up. Imagine somebody falls down.
Yeah.
Imagine someone falls down. Think about that.
And then they get back up again. Right.
And then they're getting back up.
How about if they fall down?
Wait a minute.
No, you wait a minute. How if they fall down? What would happen if they don't get back up again?
Did you say that again? Sorry.
No. Well, all right. Then. If somebody falls down and they don't get back up again.
But the polls are saying that they are getting back up again.
No, the polls. What this poll suggests is that they've actually fallen from a large height and they've bounced off the floor, dead, and then they will shortly rejoin the floor permanently.
You're getting really, really technical over here with my.
Well, that is true. That whole bouncing thing is just very scientific. Yeah.
No, it's as simple as you fall down, you're on zero, you're in a bad place. You slowly get back up. As you're getting back up, you're still in a bad place, but you are doing better.
Yeah.
It will get to a point where you're going to be standing fully on your feet.
Okay.
So, as long as you are getting back up, everyone else who's standing on their feet around you is going to be better than you. That may be, but you, in your way, are still doing better.
Yeah, so they're doing better than they were, not better in relation to anybody else. Right, okay.
No, but they're going to eventually catch up. They are not doing a bad job. They are making progress.
They are doing a bad job, that they've made progress in one poll and gone up 3% from a dismal failure last December, doesn't really mean anything at all.
But they're not going down and they're not staying the way they are.
In this, in this particular poll, you might be right there, Sam. Okay, I'm convinced. Anything just to get you to go away. You're right, Sam. I am wrong and you're right. How does that sound?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Phew. I should have said that right at the beginning, and then I wouldn't have wasted 10 minutes. But it was a delight talking to you, Sam, and I wish you all the best. Let's have a call in, let me see now, Bermondsey. Hello, John. John?
Yes?
Yes, John. Too late. Better luck next time. Maybe you just wanted to say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes?
Yeah.
Kathleen in Bexley Heath.
Oh, hello there.
Oh, hello there.
Nice to talk to you again.
Is it?
Very nice, yes. I'm just listening to Gary Lineker and all that, and I think one side of his opinion is right, and then the other half is wrong.
Yes.
I mean, if I wanted to go to America, would they accept me? If I want to live in France or Spain, would they accept me?
Well, it depends on what your circumstances would be.
No, I ain't got nothing to give. No, that was my circumstances.
No, would you be fleeing persecution?
No.
Would you be fleeing a war zone, perhaps?
No, I understand what you're saying. Right. Yeah, we should have lots and lots of compassion. That's true.
But
my family came from Northern Ireland. Northern. We came from Northern Ireland. And Westminster Council tried to send us back because they said, just go back to where you came from. And they were very nice to us.
Westminster Council said that?
Yes, because I was born in Southampton, you see.
Westminster Council told you to go back? What business is it of Westminster Council's?
Because we landed there. We landed from a flying saucer. We landed in Mexico.
Wait, hang on one moment. Did you just say that you landed in your flying saucer?
Yes.
You did, okay. Thanks, Kathleen. Lovely to speak to you. I'll sum up that call for you. So this is this story about Cruella Braverman, who made her first trip to Rwanda as Home Secretary, amid criticism that The Guardian, The Mirror, The Independent and the BBC have been shut out from the publicly funded visit.
What?
Yeah, we're paying for this. In the interest of free speech and open government, the only press that were allowed to accompany the twisted sister Home Secretary are the ones that will just cut and paste whatever the government puts out as a press release. You know, like China.
Oh, no.
China we're becoming. Before the trip, Braverman, it's Braverman, isn't it? Braverman said her policy to deport asylum seekers to the African country will act as a powerful deterrent against dangerous and illegal journeys. No, it won't. Because nothing this regime has said or done up to now has had the effect of deterring people from making a trip. And they've been all for deterring people, haven't they? I mean, if they get as near as France, having fled war or famine or terror, they're not going to be put off by some daft policy dreamed up to take the Tories' mouth-breathing fans to happy heights. Her predecessor, you remember Priti Patel? No! That's right. She signed an agreement with Rwanda last April, and we gave them £140 million. And as we have become accustomed under this regime, we got absolutely nothing for it. £140 million. The charity Freedom from Torture labelled it a showboat trip after it emerged that The Guardian, The Beeb, The Daily Mirror, The Independent and the I newspaper were not invited. You're not on the list. You're not coming in. Instead, the Home Secretary was accompanied by journalists from organisations like the Daily Mail and the Telegraph. But, you know, they're not really journalists then, are they? They're copy machines. They're essentially taking dictation from wannabe dictators. And, as usual with the Tories, it's also very much what would Donald Trump do? Usually the worst thing in any given situation.
Don't be rude.
Trump did this when he was the actual president.
I can be more presidential than anybody.
He banned journalists from organisations that had the temerity to question his awesome orangeness. He did that. And those journos that write bad things about our regime won't go on trips in the future, and they won't get the stories from the inside, and the threat of being shut out will make news organisations think twice about crossing the dear leader.
This government...
Exactly. This government seems to be wanting to crush dissent, you know, like China. The chief executive from the organisation Freedom from Torture, Sonia Skeets, described the policy as a cash for humans scheme. She said Braverman is jetting off on a showboat trip to Rwanda the very week that the Court of Appeal has accepted that there are serious questions to be answered over the legality of this government's cash for humans scheme. She says following the outpouring of support for Gary Lineker and his compassionate stand on behalf of refugees, this government knows it's on the back foot and is once again ramping up the cruelty to distract from their own failures. Yeah, spot on, Sonia Skeets, chief executive of the Freedom from Torture, which sounds like a woke organisation to me. I mean, don't tell Gullis or 30p they'll make a TikTok video about how torture never hurt anyone. Index on Censorship, which works to defend freedom of expression, also criticised the exclusion of some news organisations. Its editor-at-large, Martin Bright, said, "We are concerned to hear that journalists from organisations judged to be critical of the government's immigration policy have not been invited. Democracy depends on an open and transparent relationship between the government and the media, where all journalists are able to scrutinise the government." Yeah, that's right. That's the last thing this lot want. Accountability, being held to task, having questions asked. And in a statement, The Guardian said, "Excluding journalists who provide security or who provide scrutiny of key policies is not only damaging to press freedom, which the UK government claims to champion, but may also contravene the government's own proprietary guidance on dealing impartially and even-handedly with members of the media." Well, first off, damaging press freedom seems to be the plan rather than a mistake. I mean, they make a big show of demanding free speech for all, which gives them cover for curtailing it for those they don't like. And second, ignoring their own guidance seems to be a thing. Bodge.
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times.
Yeah, sure you did. Bradman said, I'm visiting Rwanda this weekend to reinforce the government's commitment to the partnership as part of our plan to blah, 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 blah. £140 million, and we got nothing for it but a few soundbites and headlines. I mean, you couldn't make it up, could you? Integrity.
This government will have integrity at every level.
Every level. Earlier, I spoke to former Detective Chief Inspector with the Met, Peter Kirkham, and I started by asking him how these findings will reflect on the force.
No, it's going to be another hell of a week for the Metropolitan Police in particular and policing in general. I mean, a lot of the stuff that's going to be there is stuff that's sort of known about and been talked about already. But that doesn't alter the fact that when it's all brought together in a single report, it's going to be pretty damning, I think.
Is it just a reflection of what people are like? I mean, people hate anybody, well, not hate, but they sort of dislike anybody that doesn't walk, talk and squawk exactly like they do. And you ask 100 people in the street and you'll find misogynistic, racist and homophobic people among them.
To a certain extent, yes. And an awful lot of what I'm anticipating will have been found will be things that you probably could look at and say that doesn't necessarily demonstrate misogyny or homophobia or racism, but they are homophobically offensive comments or racially offensive jokes or terminology or whatever. And they're things that we would wish that the police officers aren't doing, obviously, but they are things that you'll find in an awful lot of the rest of society, especially when it comes to younger people in their 20s, especially when you've got them working in close-knit teams, maybe within sports teams or such like. And we see examples from other areas of life where these things come to light and everyone sort of throws their hands up in anguish and goes, this is terrible. But, yeah, as you say, they're a reflection to a certain extent of the society that we have, and the police should be a reflection of the society we have. Unfortunately, that means the bad as well as the good.
Yeah, I mean, apart from the really awful stories, which we're familiar with, do you think that what we're actually talking about here is the kind of gallows humour that is prominent in the medical profession? For instance, doctors say the worst things to other doctors in order to sort of alleviate the tension and the stress of their work, which I'm sure the police officers are equally, if not more, stressed from the job that they have to do. So do you think it's we're getting a bit sensitive about language, or does it actually go worse than that?
Well, I think we've got a sensitivity to language and things that is more general, and we have it around social media and things like that, and we have Twitter storms about a certain comment, and if you take a step back from it, you think, actually, does this merit all this heart-rending that's going on? And so, yeah, we are more sensitive to language. But, yeah, some of it is dark humour, gallows humour. Some of it is comments said under stress. Some of it is the sorts of things that happen generally and you know, ill-conceived humour, misjudged humour, misinterpreted comments. All of those things will be in there somewhere. Who can say what proportions they are? But as you say, the real sort of more serious things that we're talking about, they're not happening all the time. There are not dozens of police officers going around kidnapping and murdering women off the streets. There are not dozens of police officers who are serial sex offenders. There undoubtedly will be more than one, but we're talking about very, very small numbers, and the sorts of thing that will happen in any large organisation. And don't forget that the Metropolitan Police alone is 30,000 plus police officers, and then the same again in terms of civilian support staff and PCSOs. Once you've got those numbers, you will get some bad things happen, and there will be some bad people there, and there will be bad people who get through the net, no matter how good that is. And we've talked about previously, we've talked about how the cuts have made a difference to the levels of vetting. I understand now that police officers aren't interviewed face-to-face before being accepted as recruits. When you see the whites of people's eyes, you get to know them a little bit better, and you can sort of raise a few questions and ask a few questions, difficult questions, and see what the answers are. You can't do that when it's something that's done online.
Yeah. However, having said that, and I agree with what you just said, the really bad apples that the terrible stories that we're familiar with, they do not represent all of police officers. Of course, they don't. But they were, all of them, in the job for quite a long time. I mean, these were experienced officers. So in many times, they were known to be pretty bad people by their fellow officers.
Yes and no. There were red flags in certainly one of those two cases we were talking about, and it's been acknowledged that there were things that should have been acted upon that weren't. And so there were failings there. But in other cases, you can have somebody who, and within our own lives, we know people that suddenly we found out about this hidden second life they've got that we knew nothing about within our own lives and within our own circles of friends and family. And it's quite difficult to actually put your finger on things. You might get a feel about somebody, but just having a feeling about somebody isn't enough to expect somebody to act upon. There were things, like I say, that were missed in certainly one of the two main cases, big cases, and hopefully that won't be happening again. But again, it's cuts to professional standards. It's cuts to everything, Nick. You cannot cut things and expect the same quality of whatever it is they were doing.
Tough times. Thank you, Peter. Peter Kirkham, former Detective Chief Inspector with the Met Police. Harrow. Bob. Harrow.
Hi. Well, you can make vodka from potatoes as well.
Yeah.
So Putin certainly had his chips. There's a warrant out for his arrest.
I don't think it's going to make any difference one way or the other.
Well, he's had his chips. But the question is, Nick, that Suella Braverman wants to ship all these migrants to RAF Scampton in Lincolnshire, and everybody's up in arms. Guy Gibson's office and the museum's been scrapped. His dog with the forbidden name is no longer...
Don't say it.
I won't. The forbidden name. I won't say the forbidden name.
Yeah, that is.
So, round the corner from where Suella Braverman lives in Bushey in North London is army accommodation with 30% occupancy. Why doesn't Suella Braverman just put all these immigrants there in this accommodation, which is in a state of decrepitude, and then she can keep an eye on them? But it's NIMBY, isn't it? Not in her backyard. She can look over her back garden.
A state of decrepitude. That's where you want to put people? Some of the most desperate people on earth, the damp people that arrive on these shores seeking our help and assistance. You want to put them in a place of decrepitude?
Well, that's where the British Army are housed, in states of decrepitude and housing estates, and RAF Scampton's in a state of decrepitude. Right. So from one state of decrepitude to an estate of decrepitude in Suella Braverman's backyard. So you can keep an eye on them personally, professionally, literally, actually. And she can report back to Westminster without having to take trips in Chinooks down to Manston and swan around all over the place.
Yeah. Less swanning.
Can I make a suggestion?
Does it involve the word decrepitude?
No, it involves the word Shapps. Grant Shapps, he's got a pilot's licence. Why does she have to use taxpayers' money to swan around in Chinooks? Yeah. She can just tap Grant Shapps and say, can I get in the back of your airplane? Which is actually probably in a state of decrepitude as well.
Decrepitude, yes, that's quite right.
Decrepitude. In a farmer's field somewhere in Hertfordshire.
I may go for the rest of my life without hearing the word decrepitude used so many times in such a brief period. Excellent use of the word decrepitude there, if you don't mind me saying so.
Thank you, but can I leave now, sir?
Yes, you most certainly can.
God bless you. Have a great weekend.
Okay.
God bless the listeners. Bye-bye.
About turn, quick march. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. I never want to hear the word decrepitude again. Norwich, Jenny.
Hello.
Jenny.
The reason I called in the first place was because you made a comment about, doctors' black humour. I'm a doctor myself, and I don't actually think that there is a lot of black humour in medicine in the way that there used to be. I just don't think that doctors laugh behind patients' backs to alleviate their own stress. I don't think that, in any way you can draw parallels between the kind of disgusting stuff that happens in the police and the way that doctors conduct themselves in their professional lives. And actually, since I've been listening and I've been on the line after I spoke to your producers, you made another parallel, which was between Harold Shipman and David Carrick. And I also think that that's another false parallel because, do you know how many years ago it was that Harold Shipman was convicted?
Not off the top of my head.
Well, it was 23 years ago. So, that's a long time. I'm not saying that, all doctors are perfect, because they're absolutely not. Doctors are human beings like every other profession. There are people who, there are bad apples, but, Harold Shipman is used again and again and again and weaponised against doctors. I think so.
I've never heard that.
Okay, well, this is how it feels from here. But
do you think that people in this country think of doctors as potential Harold Shipmans? That Harold Shipman somehow reflects who doctors are? I don't think that that's true.
Well, perhaps not, but I think, Harold Shipman, solely on his own, did an immense amount of damage to the medical profession. And I do think that we're still seeing the repercussions. I think on his own, he managed to completely sort of break the trust between the public and doctors.
Well, it was a pretty spectacular case, wasn't it? I think he may not be, but I'm willing to be corrected. But is he not the most prolific serial killer in history?
Correct. Yes. It's just all horrific beyond belief. But he was exceptional, I think, in that sense.
Yes, of course, but no, I don't really recognise your assertion that people, when they think of GPs, they think of Harold Shipman, any more than when they think of nurses, they think of, I can't remember the names of them off the top of my head, but, there's cases that come up every now and again of nurses. Exactly, Abbot, precisely right, yes. Yeah. She's not the only one, but people don't think of nurses in relation to her.
But citing Shipman and David Carrick in the same sentence, David Carrick was convicted very recently.
But what does that have to do with it?
Wayne Couzens was also quite recent. Harold Shipman was 23 years ago. How many doctors since then have... Actually, I'm not really wanting to make a point about doctors. I'm wanting to make a point about the police.
Right.
Harold Shipman was 23 years ago. And since then, there has been nobody else, thank goodness, who's ever done anything so dreadful.
Right, there's not been
in the last 10 years,
a serial killer GP.
There was a report that was published in January this year. In the last 10 years, in the Metropolitan Police, there have been 1,633 alleged sexual offences involving 1,071 police officers. This is a much, much larger scale problem. This was based on a freedom of information request.
Lewisham, hello, Jane.
Hello, Nick.
Hello, Jane.
Sadiq, he's always going on about it's clean air.
Yes.
But
Quite right, too.
We're gonna get sprays of sewage in it.
Well, yeah, don't go down to the beach because you'll be in for a big surprise. You come home smelling of, awful.
Yeah, but we're only 70 miles from the beach anywhere on this tiny little piece of land in England. So it's going to fly in.
Or what?
So all this clean
doesn't matter
air,
where.
isn't it?
Doesn't matter where you are. You're going to get covered in it.
Oh, it's terrible.
Aerosols. That's what they call it. It's the aerosol effect of all that hot, delicious sewage being churned up by the sea, and it becomes a spray that just gets blown all over your face, Jane. Your beautiful face.
Oh dear, I can hack anything. You know what I mean? It's just
You're tough,
terrible.
You are. Yeah.
I am. I'm a rough round the edges tough.
Right.
But it's getting a bit too tough now, isn't it? Like if my phone goes off, it's because the batteries run out. But we're going to have to get used to the electric going off. And it's just awful. But I've told you, we have got the motoring party.
Have you? Please, tell me less about it. I can't wait not to hear. Thanks a lot, Jane. She tries to get that in every single time she calls, which is a lot. I still have no idea what the motoring party is or does or stands for. And I have no desire to find out. But thanks, Jane. Good work. Al says, it may be homework, but please check out the Motorist Party website. I did, and it made me laugh out loud. Well, I have too. It starts... We are a centre party that, when necessary, helps the full spectrum of people. And finishes, the motoring party is the only one with the necessary precision. And what's in between is, well, if you've got a spare moment, I recommend you read something else.